And we are live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for today's episode of the Rice Report. Welcome to Rice TVX, and we're going to go ahead and get this show started. If this just happens to be your first time ever watching any of my videos, I do encourage you to check out and explore my channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with my videos as they come out. Also, due to all the recent censorship, make sure you subscribe to my backup channel, Rice TVX2, the sequel. And I've also recently deleted more than half of my videos on my main YouTube channel, which means you can find 100% of my content plus exclusive videos over on Odyssey and Library. If you haven't already, be sure to visit ricecrypto.crypto and sign up for the mailing list so that you never miss an update or new Rice TVX content. You can also find all my social media links as well as merchandise that is coming soon. If you'd like to support the channel directly, consider joining my Patreon, where I have 3 different levels of membership, or if you'd like to send a direct contribution or tip, I have my Cash App information, PayPal, and my CoinTree link for cryptocurrency addresses listed below in the video description. All right, now joining me on today's show is Mike from Rethinking the Dollar, and we're going to get this started in just a moment. But before we do, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX, and you can find information down below in the video description for BitSwap, DEX, Monarch, and Presearch.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com.
Oh, and speaking of rethinking the dollar, if you're looking to hedge against the US dollar crisis that is going on with this inflation that we're experiencing, disinflation that's coming, and hyperinflation, make sure you're taking advantage right here. Take advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. Get your free half ounce of silver. All you need to do is be a first-time buyer. Visit moneymetals.com. Purchase a minimum of $100 and use the promo code RICE. You get that free half ounce of silver, and it's another way to support the channel. Alrighty, so today once again, we are joined by Mike from Rethinking the Dollar. Let me go ahead and get everything situated on screen. Right. I do love this. I love StreamYard, man. It makes it so easy to do like some of this like cool live editing. So
no, I fell in love. Was it last year? Last winter, I think. And yeah, I've used it ever since, man.
And I've just been improving how I've been using it as they've been improving the platform. And I've been wanting to show some of those new ads that I did and all that good stuff. I'm just kind of working on some things on the background. Got a different studio background setup because I'm currently cleaning the studio and rearranging things. I had gotten a stand-up desk about a month ago and just getting a better setup.
I hear you, man. Going full steam ahead, huh?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. So how have you been since last time we talked?
Right, man. I'm doing good, my friend. Outside of all the craziness happening around us, trying to enjoy the rest of the summer and just do the best I can to try to wake up and inform as many people as possible, man. I still believe that there's time for people who are still asleep at the wheel to basically unplug from the matrix of some kind and make some decisions while they still have the choice to, because we are still in the land of the free, even though that's being clamped down bit by bit. But I'm doing the best I can, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I've been before we went live, we were talking about me just getting over the second strike. I've been obviously dealing with a lot of censorship, and the second time around, strike 2 kind of, not being able to put out anything for 14 days kind of had taken its toll on me for a moment, and then I had to kind of get out that funk. Another thing too that I like about the way that I just set up like the intro stuff is it gives people like plenty of time to like join the live stream without having to like just sit here and do nothing or just BS for a minute.
Right.
And then just kind of get into things. So I want to let people know that we're going to have links down below for everything that we talk about today. Okay. I think you mentioned that I'm going to be coming on your show with some other people later tonight, somewhere around.
Yeah, so about 10 o'clock. I'm looking to, so the RTD Live Talk, it's the People's Talk Show. As I mentioned before, the goal is just to get thoughts from a variety of people, man. There's a lot of experts out there in their field, minus the platform. And so, we do a good job of covering the focal people, the primary people, but there's also a lot of other experts that just need a chance to let their voice be heard. So tonight at about 10 p.m., I'm going to just invite some of the community members on. And we just have a little back and forth, man. And so far I had my first one last night and it was beyond phenomenal. So looking forward to doing tonight about 10 p.m. or so.
Awesome. So I'll definitely encourage people to check that out. And then if they're not already familiar with your channel or subscribe to your channel, I encourage people to make sure they're heading over, subscribe to your channel. And I told you I had meant to get you back on to talk, because we talk about economics and finances and some other things. But based on some of the stuff that you've been putting out on some recent videos, like this event that could trigger. Yeah. And then the rabbit hole video. We talked a little bit about self-censorship, unfortunately, because of everything that's going on YouTube. So just pay attention to what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. You will understand. But it's crazy, man. It's like there's another thing too I wanted to show people is if you go to rethinkingthedollar.com, the website, you can sign up. You can get this free death blow to the dollar PDF, and I definitely encourage you to check that out. Signing up on the mailing list, and you get that death blow to the dollar PDF and stay up to date with all things RTD.
Yeah, man, just little nuggets here and there, get people to think. That's my goal. Make people think so you can question everything, believe nothing till you do your own research.
It sounds like you said that a lot.
Yeah, man. I've gone through so many mantras and my mottos in the last 8 years now, talking about rethinking the dollar. And we're currently in the midst of everything that I've been talking about. So I kind of feel like at some point I need to just dial back, focus on how to tailor the message, and of course work around the censorship. And so I haven't been hit as hard as you have, but yet, I mean, either you're doing a really, really good job as far as exposing more truth and things like that, or I need to ramp it up a little bit and go deeper down that rabbit hole. But
and I'll tell you what, I want to encourage you to check out. I'll send you some information. I'm not going to mention the guy's name right now because I want you to check him out. I don't want to promote because I haven't had him on the show, but there's somebody I think he's kind of got he makes a lot of sense when it comes to the legal fiction law stuff that I've been studying, because the main reason why I'm doing that is ultimately so that I can be truly self-governing. So that I don't have big brother government telling me, what I have to do. Especially if they start mandating, which obviously isn't really a law, but if they start making individuals start doing things that goes against what they want to do, and so looking at ways that we can do that, and I know I know that it's a possibility for us to do that, and I feel like it's probably one of the most effective things that we can do. And it coincides everything that we talk about, everything that you talk about with your financial stuff, with economics. When you look into from just the early 1900s, the creation of the Federal Reserve, the IRS, taxation of labor, the Banking Act, the securities creation, SEC being created, the gold confiscation, that's just part of it.
It goes on and on and on.
So, I mean, but all of that stuff, because if all this information that I've been looking into, or the majority of it's correct, we have been created as bonded surety for this debt. And that's been done via our last names, social security numbers, birth certificates, and things to that effect, a combination thereof. 14th Amendment. And we're basically like chattel. And really, when you start thinking about, because in 1971, and what's interesting, about 10 days from now, I think it's 10 days from now, is the anniversary of the Nixon shock.
Temporary.
So some people, it's a temporary Nixon shock. It took place in 1971.
50 years later.
But there's even some speculation about some things maybe happening around that date. And that kind of coincides a little bit about some of the stuff that you've talked about. Second quarantine, as opposed to like using other verbiage,
Right.
supply chain breakdowns, issues. I'm hearing a lot of things about farmers, crops, either buying crops to destroy them or paying farmers to destroy their crops. So it's like this perfect storm that's brewing with every element, from a social element, political element, economic element, spiritual element, and then this legal, lawful element. It's pretty intense. It's like what it does is, it's like if you're one of these people who goes down rabbit holes, you start to realize that it's just one big giant hole. It's just bottomless.
Yeah. And it's spooky, and it's spooky for some, but yet informative for others. And so the more I dive down these rabbit holes, it just gets bigger. It gets bigger because more stuff is revealed, and it changes your perspective on everything that you were told, and everything you thought you knew, because you have to pretty much bring everything into question. And over the last several weeks now, traveling down different rabbit holes, I've been focusing a lot on as we were talking about beforehand, like, quantum physics, and how, we're told to trust the science, but yet at this current moment, they're using stuff that we used to think, or I used to think, was science fiction, to try to get man to this perfect form of, using, I'm assuming we can use the word transhumanism or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yet there's no such thing as science fiction anymore, when they're actually turning science into real world type of experience for a lot of people. And once you find out about, how nanotechnology and how microscopical it is, we listened to an interview from another YouTuber that was canceled, and was he a rocket scientist, PhD, yada yada, who had level 4, level 5 clearance, talking about, nanoparticles can go down to, what he said, 1 billionth or 1 trillionth of an inch. And of course, it's so small, apparently, that the typical microscopes or whatnot that your doctor might have, they can't detect it. So assuming the people who created it can detect it, but yet it could be everywhere. We don't even know about it. So we know about, the chemtrail and all that other stuff that,
I mean, that's fine to say. It's just,
okay.
I think what the real big triggers are.
Yeah. So, having that stuff in the air for several years meant that we've probably already been laced with a lot of things that we don't know. So we could probably already have a nice amount of certain things in our bloodstreams mimicking what they're trying to put in our bodies with this participation of this, those 2 doses, I'm talking about. So
now, what I'm surprised about, there was something I saw in the title of, I was kind of surprised about the title of this video, thought maybe it would cause some issues. No blowback on this so far?
Not that I've noticed. Outside of the live streams, some of those have had some issues because the algorithms, I guess, don't have time to process it, because it's an hour or so long, to where some of those are still searching or processing. But other than that, the short ones go through with no problem, and so far so good. And the fact that more people have expressed interest in those, type of little quick rants, as I call them, inspired me to do more, because sometimes I get tired of ranting to it because it feels like no one's listening. So I've been holding back a lot of my thoughts.
I'm just saying, like, that verbiage seems like it could be dangerous. Because what I'm starting to do is stuff that's a little bit too much for me to be putting on YouTube. I'll be starting to do on other platforms, but I don't believe the algo reads thumbnails. So you can pretty much put whatever you want, except for kiddie porn and snuff films.
And so I know if you use the 3-letter word starting with a W, I always get some type of backlash on that one. And just looking at the screen now, using the two Fs, seem like that could be something that might be triggered as well. But so far so good, and it's surprising me. I'm not going to push the limits and see what I can get away with, though. But I want to definitely be able to communicate with the audience, because we're supposed to have free speech, but I know this is not a platform that lives up to that. So at some point, as I'm telling all my members or whatever, within the next 6 months to a year, I anticipate all the centrally controlled platforms to literally just clean house, because you can't have any form of a contradictory narrative out there. And so that's why it's always good, as you mentioned, to be connected with all the ones you have above us now, because you never know any minute now, but you still want to make sure you keep in contact with your community. So very trying times ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's there are platforms being built, and there are some platforms that are really good for free speech. But yeah, the
Mhm.
big platforms, unless something is done, unless politicians really step up and start standing up for the Constitution and
Right.
free speech, I don't like the word free, the phrase freedom of speech, and I can get into that another time. I
Mhm.
prefer free speech because freedom of speech is like being given freedom of something, and
Yeah.
free speech is just free speech.
Yeah, you're something you were just born with. The moment moment you were able to
Right.
talk, you were able to speak freely. And
Right.
as we got older, our parents told us, you know, you can't say this, can't say that, can't say that. But
See, under your parents'
on,
room, it's freedom of speech.
yeah, but on
But
average, you should be able to say what you like,
you get out on your
and
own.
basically just express yourself however you feel with minor censorship. And I'm witnessing more and more how they're cracking down on that. And it starts with, you know, the words they're using to define how people who love their country and love, you know, just love freedom. The words we use and we use the words they use against us is quite disturbing because they'll label it as, you know, misinformation. When in
Yeah.
actuality, it's you have to be able to distinguish between the truth and a lie. So somebody's lying here. Is it me or is it you? But yet we know they're trying to control the narrative. So yeah, I try to
Well, you mean you've
combat
heard?
misinformation.
I'm sure you've heard the news of the White House press secretary talking about working with Facebook, creating a
Mm.
group, and
Hmm.
basically censoring what they consider to be mis and disinformation,
Right. So
which that goes against the Constitution 100%.
right, and that's why
100%.
you know, with Trump, I guess and a couple months ago, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure how far it's gone, but the idea that they're trying to put together a team to remove the Section 230 freedoms that the big tech companies have enjoyed and abused, basically holding them liable for suppressing free speech. So I wouldn't hold my breath about that in this current time frame, but it sounds good to some. So, but yet that's why you have to know. You have to know where to go and where else to be other than just essentially control. And so also, did you see today, and you might not sure you saw, but iPhone announced that they're going to have in one of their upcoming updates, they're going to incorporate an algorithm of some kind. I forgot the name of it, but it's going to basically automatically scan your phone looking for any malicious, you know, content that might impact children or something like that. And so it's just an hour ago I came across it, but
So it's just like
iPhone,
opening up a doorway for them to be able to have,
exactly, and that's
permission, I guess, to
and
do
that's
this.
if you think they already did not have it. And so the fact they went on a campaign telling us, you know, the commercials with the Apple with the lock, you know, your privacy is safe. Oh, why do you have to sell that to me? It should be that way automatically. So I question that, you know, anyway. So, but iOS, Android, be on the lookout. I just not long ago, you know, decided to go de-Googled and learning to and basically disconnect from certain apps or whatnot. But I have a sense of, you know, perhaps I'm not being spied on, but
Well, okay, so I know there's a little slightly off topic from what we're going to talk about, but there's this thing called the Freedom Phone that came out. I'm still researching it. I don't really think there's a lot to it, but what I have learned, and I'm going to talk to a friend of mine about this a little bit more because he knows a lot more about phones and the technology. But as crazy as it sounds, the Google Pixel, if you and it's all set up in the settings. If you go to the settings and you alter certain settings, it's actually probably one of the best phones you can get to de-Google your phone.
Yeah. So speaking of which, this is a Pixel.
Okay.
It is a Pixel.
So you learn how to de-Google it with that. Is it like a Pixel 3 by chance or
it's
what?
a 4?
4. Okay.
It's a 4, and I've seen they have the 5. Somebody's out there doing the 5. So why?
Okay.
So the question is, why is it so easy? Why is it so easy? I don't know. But the open source software is Google.
They could probably still listen. There's probably no, there's basically, I feel like they have a backdoor and everything down to the processor level.
No doubt.
Your smart TV is, people don't realize it, but it's listening to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just as well as all your other devices. So we've put these surveillance devices all up in our house and around us.
We've paid for them deliberately. And to speak on anything labeled smart is provided from you by one of the big tech companies that definitely in cahoots with all governments globally, because they're trying to usher in that one world surveillance style approach. And just the other day, if I might, and when it comes to real-time video footage, if you look around, every freeway now has a closed caption camera every 200 or so yards off the freeway, everywhere here in Michigan. So I'm assuming it has to be nationwide. And then you have a cell phone in your hand with a camera, more than likely that has access by somebody on the back end. And then what's popular in a lot of neighborhoods is the Ring doorbell. So every other house or so has a Ring doorbell. So at any moment, if you drive down the street, if somebody wanted to tap in, more than likely and see you in real time,
every other house would keep on. It
they could track you in real time.
360 camera exposure, and people are And so I'm not sure exactly if somebody who's watching has the acronym of what this is or what I'm talking about in a moment. Please comment, or if you know, Mike, let me know. But the word smart, like with the smart TV and smartphones, wasn't necessarily smart. It stood for something. And it had something to do with military in the M. We got a little echo, so I don't know if somebody's over here listening in on us. so you can mute your mic over there.
I don't know. I don't know that acronym there, but the fact that everything is steered towards smart technology. And then, Rice, you know me, we talked about this before, but my skepticism towards the true intentions behind blockchain and the decentralized platforms was, in my opinion, was designed to lure us into accepting ultimately cashless type transactions, disguised as decentralized, some anonymous, some not, some private, all that good stuff like that. But then I was talking the other day about how in Europe now, it looks like there's a growing trend of the fake certificates, and how they're saying we need to come up with an international database that can, help cross-border transactions, that interoperability type of stuff. And then I'm thinking like the QR code on your phone being scanned so I'm thinking like, wow, like, we, so.
Pretty much, I mean, we're going that way. And there are a lot of, I want to say, because you're old enough to realize, to get this. Do you remember when debit cards first started becoming really popular and people would get pissed off at the people using checks?
Yeah.
Because you're like, damn it, dude. Because you're like, dude, we got to write out the check. Now it's the same way with cash.
Yeah.
People get pissed off. It's like, why don't you just put your card in? Like, why do you got to sit there and count out a bunch of bills? Yeah. So, I mean, it's getting that way anyways. And I went into a couple stores over the weekend, and they had I went to the Dollar Tree to pick up a few things, and they had a sign saying we don't have any change due to a weird shortage. So I guess that's going on again. There's another, I don't know if you're hearing anything about more coin shortages.
I haven't, but yet my suspicion would be that it'd probably be a lot easier for businesses now to say, hey, it'll alleviate us having to actually do, at the end of the night, collect all the cash and change. We'll start, easing that out by saying that we don't have access to it. Because if they really wanted to make sure they provide change for their customers, especially at a Dollar Tree, you're going to have little kids coming in, $1 here, $2 here. Nobody spends big at a Dollar Tree typically. So you're going to be dealing with small bills as well as change. So you would naturally want to accommodate that, unless you're also trying to weed out. And so dollar was, you say Dollar General, Dollar Tree?
It was Dollar Tree, but I don't know if you know this, but it's either Dollar General or Family Dollar that the Dollar Tree bought out.
Okay. So, and it's good to say things are no longer just a simple dollar.
So now my Dollar Tree, and I'm sure some other Dollar Trees are the same way. Some might still be the old way, but it has 2 aisles that's got things that are $3 and $5. So it's like Dollar Plus, Dollar Tree Plus. So it's Dollar Tree and Dollar Tree Plus, like 2 stores in one.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, once again, I think it from the corporate level up top, as a business model, it might be worthwhile. I wouldn't be surprised if most chains are saying, hey, let's cut back on that and incentivize people to just tap and pay. Because of course, pretty soon we're going to have the just scan your phones if that's not already available outside of the Google Pay, Apple Pay, all that stuff like that. So yeah, man, we're right where I think the orchestrators of this entire experience wanted us to be in many fronts.
The thing with crypto, I definitely agree that crypto, there's a portion of that was meant to desensitize and introduce people to this technology that's outside of what we know of as dollar bills and notes. But just like with everything, there's a duality. Yeah. So no matter what happens, no matter what kind of control and surveillance they do on our smart devices, there's still going to be things that we can do. We could even like now use like radio signals and stuff like that if people really wanted to send crypto back and forth.
Yeah.
We can create our own mesh networks and things to that effect. So there's a lot of really interesting things that we can do. But I guess to get to the meat of it, I wanted to ask you, like, what are your feelings? And I know this could be speculation. It's not going to be all based off 100% fact. And you can specify the things that are factual or whatever. But where do you think we're headed over the next few weeks? You know, short term or just even just this month of August?
Okay, great question. And of course, I don't think unless you're a part of the people orchestrating this, they can give you outright facts. I can only just, come up with speculation and conjecture as to what I assume and what I feel like might be coming about.
Well, okay. Economically, we know it's a fact that the Congress didn't come to terms on a debt ceiling.
Correct.
So, and correct. How that can lead into Janet Yellen, who we know for a fact is taking extra measures.
Yeah.
So there are some things that factually will mix in with the speculation that helps to lead to where, because obviously if you have a lot of speculation, something helped lead you to that end point.
Okay, so here are the factual things. The debt ceiling is going to be an issue. The unemployment ends next month for how many ever people.
For the extension.
We have the extension, and then the moratorium situation is supposed to be extended, might not be. I don't believe the CDC will have the actual ability to do that.
That's the
then
rent?
we have, say again?
Moratoriums, the rent?
Yes, the moratoriums and the rent, yes. And
but that has ended, right?
It has ended, but yet I'm not sure how factual this is, but I saw an article from Reuters saying CDC extends the moratoriums until October 3rd. Okay. Now, that was the only source I saw it. So maybe, and here's my issue is I think a lot of mainstream media sources now have been given permission to come out with, misleading stories to control a narrative. And so I'm not sure how they can enforce that because there's been several states that have already shot that down. So it might be a state by state type of situation. And then we have Texas, which has done some very interesting things with giving guns to young kids without any proof of need to sign up anything or get licensed for anything. And of course, we got events happening in Florida where they're starting to open up more and just protest against the federal government. So those are things that are factual. And reason I'll mention all that.
Texas is kind of bucking up against the Fed.
Yeah,
the Federal Reserve. No, I mean not the Federal Reserve, the federal government, because I mean they are the one state, and I got to get a better understanding of this because I don't have a complete comprehension of how this works. But from what I understand, is they are the only state that can secede from the United States without any issue.
I'm not familiar with that, other than I know from that power issue they had from that coincidental cold front that came through there and set a historical record out of the blue. Okay. But as a result of that, they're not able to supply their own energy because they're not connected to the grid. So that can be a plus or a minus for that state, because if something else happens, could happen, they'll be on their own. So I know a lot of the, Texas natives are not too happy with probably taking that measure, given that they're not self-sustaining as a state in its entirety. Neither would they be as their own little independent country at this current moment, in my opinion. But what was I saying? So all those things there, it signals to me that they're deliberately destabilizing things. So even the fact we have politicians in D.C. now coming, they're turning against their own. So they're trying to get Cuomo out of New York, saying that he was a part of some sexual allegations. And typically they usually go to bat for theirs unless there's some things happening behind the scenes. And then we got each state pushing these, participating with two shots in your arm. So all that stuff factored in, it makes me feel like they're getting very desperate because they're on a time clock. And my personal opinion is that time clock is probably this upcoming flu season, where things typically happen naturally just out of the way the season goes.
Yeah.
And there's a rush to get as many people participating in our program as possible, because I think time is ticking. And then they throw in another type of a case at us now with another Greek alphabet letter thrown at us these days. So that I think that they're becoming very desperate. And as a result of that, I think, and those rumors that are circulating from the mainstream narrative, even Fauci came out the other day and said that he doesn't see the need if we're able to get back on track with, getting people participating in this whole experience. And then what we have all around us is nations are actually deciding to close things down again. So I would only assume, with all that information there, why would the U.S. be the only nation not deciding, just dial back a little bit as far as closing down some things? So I would suspect between now and the end of this year, they're going to create some type of event, and that's why I use those two F's in my last video to really crank this thing up. Because if there's division amongst the right and left in the DC, then they need to definitely create another event that would make it obvious to where we all have to go in the direction they want to take us in, and that leads to a closure, 2.0, if that comes about. But it's going to be hard because not every state will buy into it. So it's
that's what I was going to ask you. It's
going to create rifts between states. So I'm in Michigan, which will more than likely Whitmer follow suit. So we might dial back a little bit, but will the people obey? And then who will enforce it will be the question, because I don't think law enforcement will really continue to go along with this narrative as they realize that their lives are impacted with this stuff too. So I'm expecting an event within the next couple of weeks. If it doesn't happen, I'll be very excited. I can come on here and say, I admit I was 100% wrong, but I think having foresight is better than hindsight. And when this is a controlled event that's happening globally, I will automatically assume the worst before I assume the best first, while praying for, of course, God's favor. Everybody works this thing through, but that's just my opinion, man. Something is coming pretty soon. I don't think we'll get out of this year without there being some type of event, because they need one in order to continue to control this narrative, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, I mean, I think that when I say it's a perfect storm kind of brewing, we knew at least I knew since 2008 that we were at the end of this fiat cycle, and we're overextended on that.
Yeah.
So a lockdown to me, I guess I said it, but if they did something like that, hopefully, we're 35 minutes into it, so hopefully it's fine. But
yeah,
if they did something like that, I'm just not sure. Like it would have to, I think, coincide with a financial reset of sorts.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Cyber Polygon. And so that exercise took place in July, and within that time frame of for some reason, I just think that September 11th, being a historical day in our history, plays in that same time frame of there also being another event of an eye-catching event. And so based upon all the partnerships with the tech, all the trial runs we've had with the glitches in the system, from the food manufacturer plant to the oil pipeline situation, as well as all the other events that don't slip my mind right now, they're all locking in step with each other, working on some type of event. And my guess would be, if they happen to lose control or somehow, some way, then they won't mind cutting the lights off. And then, now that I'm thinking about it, Arizona right now, they're going through a process of trying to verify some ballots from the prior election, and it's looking very favorable to show that there were obviously a lot more ballots than there should have been, and it's a lot of activity that just doesn't look good. So if that picks up steam, the way that Philadelphia talking about wanting to do some things, and so if that stuff picks up steam, you cut the lights off, that'll definitely keep things quiet, and it might disrupt their plans, but I don't think it'll end their plans, because I've talked about how there was Starlink satellites. They have access to communication that we don't have direct access to, as far as getting on the web, or Web 3.0, whatever they are out there using as well. So yeah, no,
they would definitely. I feel like there would be some sort of access to satellite internet, satellite capabilities. But if there was lights out like that, truly, it would be like the purge.
Yeah, things will get very crazy real soon, and then that's when you get into
come out at night, and,
right,
and it's going to be night always, basically, when you think about it like that.
Right,
it's cyber dark.
Right, it'll be every man for themselves.
Electrically dark, power dark. It's not going to be pretty. It could either bring out the best in people or the absolute worst in people. And I'm trying to get people more in the mindset of, if the powers that be, the they, the who. When I say who, I mean lots of different things.
Right. I'd say orchestrators. The orchestrators of this experience.
When God said to Adam in Genesis, Who said?
Mhm.
Was it a question or a statement?
I would say it was a question.
Or is who? It's kind of like I would almost kind of refer to that as who.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. You're referring to the entity
If
itself.
Lucifer, Satan, or something like that was the serpent in the garden,
Mm-hmm.
then that would be the who.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's mentioned as the god of this world. Like, we know that everything is under the influence of the power was handed over to him in the garden. So,
and then the who has the serpent in their logo, which I
yeah.
mean, now that's the bad thing. Now, if you have enough time,
Uh-huh.
you can make some really interesting theories that are
Mm-hmm.
very, very tinfoil that make what I try to do look really serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I do try to cover like more serious things. I don't try to cover a lot of speculation, but
Mm-hmm.
people's imaginations with everything that's been going on since this basically early 2020
Mm-hmm.
has just been crazy, especially when you like look into a lot of the theories people have from like the 17th letter. There's Trump and Trump's uncle, John Trump, was FBI.
Okay. I'm
CIA, one of the two, but I
not
think
well versed in
FBI.
that. But go ahead, give it to me.
But he was he knew Nikola Tesla.
Okay.
And there's some theories that and together, not just them together, but in collaboration, the New Yorker hotel was built, which has its own power plant. Now, back then, a lot of hotels had their own power plants, but not quite as big as the New Yorker. And then you look at, there's two books that are out from like late 1800s or early 1900s. And one's called like The Last President. And I think the guy's name is Trump in there. And then there's another book called The Adventures of Baron von Trump. And Trump's son's name is Baron. So then there's all these people who are like, oh, they came up with time travel. They have a time travel device. That's where it goes into the looking glass technology of kind of like, whether it's time travel or whether it's remote viewing or whatever people are doing or say they're doing to look into the future to anticipate what's going to happen. It's people's imaginations have gotten really, really wild.
Right. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, though, because I'm of the mindset that if you can think it, then somebody's able to actually work on it or achieve it. And that's where things can get really, really, it can sound crazy. But at this current moment, man, it's with as much stuff that's been thrown our way, how far-fetched are some of the things that we're talking about? Like, if you just look on mainstream news, they're talking about UFOs. And so there's different narratives on what that is, what they are. And I've even dived deep down some holes that took me down to Antarctica, and how people have been making extremely good arguments as to how the earth is not round, it's flat. And I'm thinking like, wow, like, man, like and so I'm not either for. I try not to go down there and express my personal opinions on it, because I'm like, it's not relevant for my subject matter at times, but it's just stuff that makes you think. And it's like, why not entertain it? Because
okay, since you mentioned it, without me, and I'm not in that boat, but if it was or wasn't, and you found out either way conclusively, would it change how anybody lives?
Well, if it was,
we would know we were lied to about some things, but it's not like people are going to start crawling on the ground. It's not like people are. I mean, it's not going to make you the everyday normal things that we do: going to sleep, waking up, going to work, doing a video. It's not going to change those things.
But I think it would break the overall, collective,
the spell that's been put on
framing of everything we've been taught. I always say, like, once you expand a rubber band beyond its original form, you can never get it back to that. So once you expand the human mind, you can't pretend like you don't know. So if you believe that,
well, you can,
it'd be hard to do that. It's hard unless you choose to go backwards. Me personally, the curious nature in me always wants to move forward. So that's why if I come across something real or fake, I can't go back and pretend it. I got to go further to investigate it and then make some decisions accordingly. But the majority of people will choose to ignore it, while those that are curious will go diving for more. And it's a very small few that will go diving. Just look at society now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How much stuff can you be thrown? How much emails and how much stuff can you be shown as to how this event is a staged occurrence in history for a direct purpose of enslaving humanity even further and not even want to even touch on that stuff. By the way, have you seen that interview with David E. Martin?
Mm-mm.
So listen, I've been encouraging everybody that I've come across.
Is it on
it's on Rumble.
Food?
It's on Rumble.
Okay.
And Dr. David E. Martin on July 9th, he was on a talk show, a German-based talk show. He's a analytical researcher, like he's an international guy. His company is they do some big things. And after watching that video, it's a 6-hour long interview. It's a 2-hour clip of him in the middle. If you just go on Rumble, type in Dr. David E. Martin, you'll see all types of stuff pop up. Listen to his 1.5 hour rant. And it's a little interpretation there back and forth, but he gives you more than enough facts. I mean, hard facts. He gives you U.S. patent numbers to everything we're experiencing now, everything from the different genome sequences of the variations they threw at us. That top want to do it. And he gives you the patent numbers of the first Pfizer that was created back in early 2000. He gives you the Moderna. He gives you the companies they're partnered with. He gives you Fauci's history as to who he's worked with. You can't watch that and walk away. Yeah, go on. So go ahead.
What do you? No, you're sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. Just what do you think about the? It's just the way I talk, and I think you're.
No problem. The same way.
What is your thoughts on Rand Paul and Fauci?
So that
kind of got
that public show
down a little bit. I mean, it's like they haven't really talked a whole lot about it since like except for the first like 48 hours maybe.
Here's the thing. It's good theater. It looks good because you have a person who's touted his whole career, 8 or 9, 10 years, however he's been along in politics, as being against the deep state, against the narrative, against, the conventional, DC policies. Okay. He grilled into him, but once again, he didn't go for the kill shot. He just basically called him out, and even Fauci got back in and said, "You're a liar," or whatever he said. Big deal. What happened? Nothing. So all these committee hearings, they usually show a little pushback from our politicians, but they never do nothing. So I never believed in it. I wouldn't hold my breath thinking that this guy was going to really do anything good. We have good apples. We have good seeds amongst a bunch, but the majority is so bad. It's hard to decipher who's really, really, really genuinely making a dent out there as far as pushing back. Even the Marjorie Greene, she talks good. But then also when Trump was in, she was talking good too. And people forget that Trump signed a signature on everything we're experiencing right now. So it didn't start with his current administration, if it is administration. So that's why I never bought into that whole idea that, if he comes back, he's going to undo. No, we're too far in the hole to turn this thing back, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even that's just a whole another hopium balloon that I just did to pop to, man. Everybody, because as we were talking before we went live, it's people that are looking for someone else to save them instead of taking the responsibility and saving themselves and collectively joining up with everybody and the right people. Because when enough people take a stand, Mike, nothing can stand against the people. Truly,
right? Very true. Very true. Like last night, man, in my little rant, we were talking about that last night as to, given the current events we're facing, the people who are already awake and aware, we're the ones that are putting up a little resistance. It's just the average Joe, which is the majority, is the one that's giving a pushback towards those who haven't participated yet. So you have two classes right now that's being deliberately set: those that have participated and those who have not. And they're trying to literally turn us on each other. The goal is always to divide. They use race. Race didn't work. It came to an end ultimately with George Floyd, that whole experience there, how he became, I guess, a martyr. He was, getting statues and, I don't know. I don't understand that, but I understand the race war that is coming to an end. So now it's going to be the vax war against those who have and who haven't, and they're going to push back, man. So all the articles I'm seeing are swayed towards pointing the blame at those who haven't participated, to where this window I'm talking about of time where they're trying to get as much done as possible as far as full participants before the flu season hits, I think is why. And I think if people are able to put up some resistance, do some question, listen to this video. If you listen to this video, there's no way you can walk away from this video not knowing everything that's going on, because he goes a lot deeper than, but man, I'm telling you, I was taking notes, Rice, I was taking notes, man. He dropped knowledge. And then I was Googling the patent numbers for myself. So It wasn't.
I'm
It wasn't
familiar. I'm familiar
speculation.
with this guy. I just didn't know his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's. I think. I mean, the patent information. What is it from like 2017,
No,
2016?
he goes back to.
Well, I'm saying for the CV19.
Let me
Because
see
there is a patent for that.
There's a patent, and he even goes into details as to how initially, because it's listed as a typical flu strand, you can't patent something that's just naturally occurring in nature. And so this was like 2007 or 8, I think. And then they actually tweaked a genome or two in the sequence or something like that. And then they tried to file a patent. They still got denied. And then the federal government stepped in and overrode the patent office and all that stuff like that and made it. They gave them their first patent on something that was typically not supposed to be patented. And from there, according to Mr. Martin here, they created 60 or 70 different strands, which are the variants, I think. And he gave some numbers with those things. He actually gave a printout of stuff you can go dive down a deeper rabbit hole. So, and that's all information that he shared in that video. So I'm just, sharing what I learned from that video.
Can you see this on the screen?
Yeah, make Earth great.
Well, the thing I'm screen sharing.
Me, no, not me, but I identify as.
So with this whole transhumanism movement too, like this is a backfire because I can totally use this verbiage based off of what has been put out in the social structure of today, is because I can now choose to identify however I want to identify, whether I want to identify as a female, a reptile, or a vaccinated person.
Yeah.
I can identify as whatever I choose to.
You'll be able to get away with it until they pull out the actual the app in your phone where you got to scan, and verification for that is going to be the hang up. But watch this, to further divide us in regards to how people can choose to identify themselves or not. Everything we're seeing, even the categories in the Olympics, you got men is, playing, in female version of the sports. And here in Michigan, I think they allow young boys to participate in girls sports. But I've never seen a young lady want to go to the men's side in any of these categories due to the fact I don't think they would actually be able to compete and win. But then also there's an instance where there's a hip hop artist that I saw is trending right now. So he's by the name of the baby or something like that.
Yeah, no, he's from Charlotte, North Carolina, dude.
Okay, so he's
kind of a joke. he makes Old Dirty Bastard look really, really serious.
So he actually, I guess, doing a concert or something, and I was he made some comments about the LGBTQ community and lumping everything together and calling them out. And it's been so much public backlash to where they wanted to apologize. They canceled all his concert tours. And then what another YouTube creator brought up was, isn't it interesting how if you talk about what's been accepted, you're going to be shunned and going to be put to shame. You're going to lose your financial backing. But yet in his music, it's okay to talk about, defaming our women, killing these, drugs selling, killing your own kind. But yeah, that's cool because they make money off that. But you talk about what they don't want you to talk about.
Yeah, glorifying the trap, it's okay. But if you talk real talk, no, you need to shut up.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, man, that was a great point, man. That is a good point.
That's one of the reasons why, like, speaking of that kind of music too, and even that artist, I mean, some of his stuff is kind of party like, but anything that's like this, what people term as trap music. To me, like the mumble rap stuff, it's even worse than gangster rap. Like at least to some of the gangster rap, there was like a mentality behind that way of thinking. Yeah. Whereas this is just like, I'm just retarded. My mom, I was a crack baby and I'm grown up. They grow up eventually and they become mumble rappers, trap
right?
Rappers.
And I say music is the key to the soul, and that's one thing that has completely, especially in the melanated community, how you got people who actually think that that's real life, and they want to do that, they emulate that stuff. So other than hearing about the baby, I don't really listen to newer rappers because they mumble and they usually got one hook and they say the same thing. And it's all about show nowadays. So I'm not even interested really, but I go back to my older artists that told a story, make you wonder like, what is he talking about?
Well, another good old artist who told a story was like someone like T.I.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like T.I. still, while he was still famous, was still
Yeah.
selling firearms and still doing a bunch of hood shit.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So it wasn't necessarily, I think it started to gradually start to change as time progressed. And it makes me actually really appreciate like the Ghetto Boys and NWA.
Yeah. And they were during that genre or during that era, they were rapping for a cause. It was like, it was police brutality was a big issue because drugs was put into the community. So there was like the counter to that. And so they were actually pleading their case on wax as to how they're going to defend themselves against the police. And so now they've gotten away from that to where now it's you talk about anything and it goes. So music used to have a cause. And even now, even the love songs now, they're very graphic. They tell you what they're going to do to you in detail in these songs. And I'm thinking like, wow, this is music. Like, you're not leaving anything to the imagination. You're telling the young lady what you're going to do. Like,
it's crazy what's happened to our. I mean, and seeing this progression. I'm. You don't have to give away your age, but I'm 46.
Yeah, I'm slightly younger.
Okay, slightly younger. Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm sure we're in the proximity of the same.
Yeah, I'm in my 40s. I'm in my 40s. I give it to you.
So we've seen a lot of changes. I mean, like when I was 13 years old, it was taboo for a guy to have an earring. And we're just talking a matter of 33 years. And now it's fine to like look like you live in South American jungle and come out with like these discs in your ears and eventually just have these big old Dumbo flaps that are but it's now it's acceptable. I used to take earrings out to go into a job interview. Now people are like tattoos on their face.
Yeah, come as you are.
Not that I'm dissing it, not that I'm knocking it. It's just that's how much things have changed. The last thing I guess I really want to ask you is, and I definitely want people to go and look at your videos if they haven't checked them out already. If they're not familiar with you, so that they can get an idea more of what you're talking about. But what are some of the things that you're suggesting that people do to prepare themselves for what potentially could be coming?
All right, man. Great question there. So right now, especially over the last 2-3 weeks, I've really been trying to focus on what could possibly be, hoping and praying I'm wrong. But I'm telling people we know that something's occurring right now. Just look at what's happening outside this country. Look at Australia. Brisbane. I had somebody calling from Brisbane, Australia last night, giving detail as to how they got boots on the ground. So if it's happening there, we got in Europe, France, Italy, Greece, we got UK there in the streets protesting. So what makes you think it can happen in the US? So what I'm encouraging people to do is don't trust what you see on TV. Go get your own information, do your own homework. And then also realizing that the supply chains issue was something that happened last year and it still hasn't fully recovered. And then to make it even worse, they're deliberately holding stuff back from us on purpose to create this destabilization of the economy. So they're trying to shake us out of our comfort zones in all facets of our lives. So basically double down now. Your current purchasing power is being diminished. The dollars that you currently have now, guaranteed by next year, will not purchase you the same amount of goods as they do now. So just consider, and I've actually started interviewing some preppers who talk about your pantry is your greatest form of savings, because a canned good now can last you a year or two, depending on what kind it is, whatever. But yet it can last you and serve you very well. And it'll actually save you money now as opposed to waiting until later. So double down now, prepare the best you can, get education, get knowledge, build a community, and literally try to learn as much as you can and try to work on your skill set, because with this unemployment stuff coming, a lot of people are going to be laid off. And then you factor in this forced participation is going to hit the corporate and private sector come September, October-ish. So here, all the healthcare systems are telling people participate or leave. So there's going to be a mass slew of people that's no longer employed. So you got to still add value of some kind. So those are just the things I talk about, man. And I really value the community's participation, because I'm just one man, but I try to give people a voice with the talk show call-in parts. And then I, of course, interview the experts and stuff like that. But double down, prepare, and brace for impact, but also trust that God is still in control, because there's going to be a lot of opportunity with this as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you couldn't have said that any better. And what I would add to that, just which kind of accentuates what you were saying, is anything that you think that could be used as something to barter with, barter abilities, toilet paper, ammunition, alcohol, cannabis. I mean, there's all sorts of different things. Women are going to want feminine supplies and things like that. So if we are running into a supply chain shortage and you don't have a lot of money or currency, I should say, to be able to invest into things like precious metals or even cryptocurrencies and things, there are inexpensive things that you can do.
Right.
I mean, if you really wanted to think about it, if you would have went to the Dollar Tree, another Dollar Tree plug, and just picked up the crappiest toilet paper they have, because that's what they have. It's like sandpaper, but it's like 4 rolls for $1 of sandpaper. But when I'm back in 2020, when there was a toilet paper shortage, I'm sure you could have got more than $1 for that sandpaper toilet paper's worth of stuff. So I mean, there's ways that people can benefit and think ahead without trying to harm other people, and definitely try to get involved with your community, get to know your neighbors, maybe now outside isn't really the best time to start it, but community farming and things like that. I've been hearing about the idea. I don't know if this actually exists, but areas where each household grows different things.
Yeah, I've heard about those as well. And
they
those
just
are already
around
operational, though. So it'll be a little hard at this point to get that going, but never too late. But yeah, self-sustainability, man, in all facets of your life. Just because we've been taught that every Friday or every payday we can go down to the grocery store and load up. There's a possibility that won't always be the case. And one of my things I've always talked about, based upon my experiences having done a little travel in my younger years, is that we are the land of the free. We are the greatest nation in comparison to the rest of the world as far as us having plenty. We have abundance at our fingertips. What happens if that is no longer the case? Even Trump, like a couple of weeks ago, he was at the border doing something, and he was just talking about how bad things are. And he said that they're turning our country into a third world nation. And here we have a former president who's just jokingly or mentioning this, his opinion, or maybe he knows some things. But think about if we were to be downgraded our standard of living, which is more than likely once the credit system cracks, it's very likely that the lifestyle we live will have to take a little bit of a dip.
Yeah.
Then what? How will I do for that?
People don't realize it. I mean, like when we talk about America being the freest country on the planet and things like that, and people don't really, like, if you live in the United States, you do not, especially if you're our age, you do not realize how good you have it.
Yeah.
Because when we do lose purchasing power with the US dollar, if the dollar loses world reserve status, because that's really the only thing that's keeping it propped up besides the central banks.
Right.
Then we're, if you think about how other nations are, like I remember growing up hearing about in Russia that there wasn't a lot of bread available in the grocery stores and things like that. Those are the things that we could be experiencing that people are going to have to realize that we've been really spoiled. Right. I mean, that's where like Americans used to get pissed off when we were taxed pennies on tea. And then now look at us. Look at us. I'm sure that we're making all those founding fathers, all those people like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. I'm sure that we're making them proud.
Yeah. And think about this, like the current regulation that they're talking about now with the crypto space is just the door opener, because it's going to get to the point they're going to become so desperate as a government to make sure that people don't profit off this transition, that they're going to start taxing unrealized gains and focusing on the crypto space at some point. So that's why I think gold, silver, precious metals in particular is not in the light right now. It's historical. It's a barbarous relic, supposedly. But then again, it's the best way to, in my personal opinion, to preserve purchasing power outside of the naked eye, not connected to the chain, not directly something that can be tracked and traced. And of course, there's room for your crypto portfolio. I speculate, Chris, so I'm not out here saying don't do it. Right. But weight is your anchor. It holds you down. Everything above that, to me, is where you play and have fun and to accumulate your real, tangible, real world things. Because Bill Gates buying up all the land, China buying up all the land, people buying real things these days. So you want to get involved, you can.
Something that you can do with your cryptocurrencies, like if you get some gains out of your crypto and things like that, and you're looking to just accumulate more dollars or something to that effect, you can go to moneymetals.com and you can actually use cryptocurrency to buy various precious metals, and you can get that free half ounce of silver using that promo code RICE. So I could throw that plug in there.
Go ahead.
So I mean, any investment opportunity, you just got to have a strategy with how you're going to do it.
Right.
And I would rather use this technology than the paper money that we use.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But it will serve a purpose in the short term because it is scarce in comparison to the digital form of the Federal Reserve notes that are out there. So I don't think the printer is going to go brr, like people say, to that point where they're going to print. They're going to go to that CBDC as the alternative, as opposed to just printing outright, because they want paper out of circulation at some point, because it will carry somewhat of a premium for those that try to, well, especially when we go officially negative, they're going to try to hold on to that paper as much as they can as a savings anchor, and they don't want that. So cashless society is still part of their agenda, I think, at some point.
One thing I want to add and also ask you is with precious metals, and they're trying to make it like it's an antiquated thing. The thing is, it throughout time, 100%, it's proven itself to be a safe haven asset. Precious metals, gold and silver.
Correct.
So with them putting out the verbiage that it's an old thing, passe or whatever the situation might be, is it a distraction to not get people to invest in those things? And also, is it because like things like silver, we know that silver is going to be used in like electronics, manufacturing, a lot of different things. So like they need to have a supply. But if people like me and you are encouraging a bunch of people to buy a bunch of silver, reducing that supply for those companies, it screws up a lot of stuff. So it's better just to say, hey, this is old and antiquated. Don't invest in it.
Right. It's just basically just don't talk about it. The fact they control the games, the futures, like I think it was last night, 5.5 billion or 5.5 million contracts was dumped in gold last night, dropping the price $30. So they dropped the price every day, it seems like. And most people who are not familiar with, what money really is, don't pay no attention. But once again, there's already been a disconnect from the spot price and the real price, which we're going to pay in the store with the premiums. So it is very important. And I always say silver is the most undervalued asset probably on the face of the earth, because it's still well below its all-time high of 2011 and 1980. So how can you pull that off in a world where every other asset class is already reaching an all-time high and blown past it? So,
but you don't think that there would be, and I don't mean to keep dragging this out, but
no problem.
Like something like Basel III or you don't think that there's a possibility that silver, that the manipulation can stop, that they'll stop allowing the derivative paper contracts to be what base the price of the precious metals? Because we know there's a big disconnect from reality. You can look at the spot price that's being traded with pieces of paper, and you can go into your local precious metal dealer and you're like in two different worlds.
Right. I paid $38 yesterday for an Eagle. $13 on the spot. I paid $38 for an Eagle yesterday, $13 over. But to me, that's fine, because I really know what's at stake here. That's constitutional money, and it's legal tender, and it's future purchasing power in my hand today. I literally reached into my future, gave them 40 pieces of paper, and I got future purchasing power that I know today and 10 years from now will definitely be worth $40. So I think I got the best deal out of that right there.
Smart. I love it.
But no, I think the pricing mechanisms for metals have shifted out east. China's already going to control that. They got the Shanghai golds, they're already doing swaps and stuff like that. And I think everything's been done now is setting up the U.S. to be turned over to Asia, and with the One Belt, One Road initiative, which is in play. So that's why I try to come out with the Build Back Better World initiative to counter
build
that.
Back better.
Yeah, but I think their agenda is right on course for what they want. Now the question is, how can we disrupt it? How many more people can we wake up so that they can make little small preparations? We're not going to defeat it. I think biblically speaking, this is what's supposed to happen to get us to God's desired outcome. And so I'm just more so trying to prepare myself mentally, as well as my children, my family, to say, hey, it's going to be some changes, but yet also there's going to be some light that comes from this. Because as a people, I think we're going to unite. What I'm saying? I think we still got the upper hand, because it's enough of us that out here shouting loud enough they're going to be heard. And when it comes time to rally, I think we can get it done, man. So
I love
that's
that.
my stand up.
And I have a lot of the same perspectives, because I was raised a traditional Christian. And I do look at like prophecy and things to that effect. And I try not to dwell on that 100%, because if you look at it from that perspective, I mean, yeah, ultimately light wins, good wins. There's a lot of shit that we're going to be going through.
Hands down. And that's the thing, like
dirty, rotten shit. Like
we were told ahead of time that we will face tribulations as well as persecution, you know, for those that are believers. And it's not necessarily, I look at it, it's not necessarily an attack against me personally. It's, you know, the enemy. You know, this is about principalities and powers. That's what's going on in the spirit realm. You know, the devil has a clock as well. He's trying to execute his plan, but yet God already sealed the deal. So it's more so it's an attack against who I believe in. And that's what I think the biggest fight will be with your faith, you know, because faith to me ultimately is the biggest currency. Either you got it or you don't, because gold and silver ain't gonna save you, you know, on your when you're taking your last breath, you know, but your faith in Christ will. So that's just that's my opinion.
Right. Well said, man. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up.
For sure.
You wanna anything that you want to share, any final thoughts, and then plug your live stream again? That was
for sure, man. I appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to connect, man. And I hope you can join us in a couple hours. So basically on RTD Live Talk, it's called the People's Talk Show. Weeknights, 9:30 p.m. I go through the day's articles, share my 2 cents, rant a lot, and then I try to get the community participate. And I'm doing something new where I'm having people just check in via video, joining me face to face, and let's just talk, have some fun, educate, encourage one another. And you know, just try to be a source of energy for people, man. But that's kind of what I do with Rethinking the Dollar. And also, latest project is I'm trying to get people to actually share their expertise. And so the Purchasing Power Matters is a little movement I'm trying to start, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but people are arguing inflation.
Highlight that shirt again. Move that microphone for a second, man. Model that thing. You want to get up and turn around, do a little. I think you muted yourself when you moved it. Maybe it's on the mic.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. So this here is my little movement, Purchasing Power Matters. It's the fist with some dollars or some Federal Reserve notes inside, mimicking the Black Lives Matters, which is a sham, mimicking Antifa, which is a sham to divide us. I want to unite us by letting people know what's in your hand. Your financial future is in your hand with the currency that they think is theirs. It's not really not theirs. So just trying to get people to share their faith. I'm not fair to share their faith, but share their thoughts on the currency. So starting a little some commercials with that or some videos with that, giving people a chance to, you know, rant like me, man. So, and that's it, you know, purchasingpowermatters.co. So just excited, man, trying to get people to wake up as best I can, man.
Purchasingpower.co.
Yeah, Purchasing Power Matters.
Purchasingpowermatters.co.
Correct.
Cool. All right, dude. Well, let me go ahead and wrap things up. If you can hold on 1 second, I want to talk to you real quick. I do appreciate you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, so much. I'm going to be doing a live stream tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a crypto rewind. Me and Satoshi Sean are going to be joined from DZ, who is the host of Around the Blockchain on BitBoy Crypto. So make sure you check that out. I'm also going to be on BitBoy Crypto and Around the Blockchain at 5 o'clock p.m. tomorrow. I'm going to share that on the community with my YouTube channel and a community post, and I'm going to be sharing it on my social media. So tune in for both of those tomorrow. And as always, I encourage you to be the change by practicing change.